changes things up here, as I said. Not very happy with the super late game Scylla. Black Dragons, the first one to go ahead and pick and ban this time around. We'll see how they change things up. The Morrigan, not an option.
They do not want Zeros transforming into a Robin or any sort of warrior ever again. He was absolutely chunking Nun's health. That was another factor that we didn't even really get to touch on, was if it wasn't the Somukar or the Kamazots, it was typically a Robin, and that is just as scary. So Dignitas is going to stay true to themselves, though, banning away that Circuit, and Black Dragons, actually another shout out to Zeros there with the Chronos ban.
I mean, Zeros is one of the more powerful players on Team Dignitas. He really dictates how this team plays. And again, Dignitas, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They've seen the Circuit ban all season, likely to be the Bologna to follow up. That's what we're used to seeing out of Team Dignitas here. Talking about it a little bit more than they usually do. We'll see where they wind up with their last ban before Black Dragons picks.
Probably torn between Osiris, Soul, and Bologna. Because either way, I think Black Dragons is going to select one of those gods. So it's really on to Dignitas for what they want to try and deal with the least. And it is going to, in fact, be that Osiris. So now Black Dragons have the decision, do we look for a Soul or do we leave that open for Zeros? And it is just going to be none. Taking up what we were talking about earlier, he gets the survivability, and he gets that early game.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Self-peel a little bit earlier, plus you're taking it away from Zeros. I think the Black Dragons not only have done their homework, but they passed the test here in game number 2 as far as just his first ban and the first selection. Love the selection so far. Dig on the other side, Bologna and Robin.
I mean, straight from the fryer into the frying pan pretty much with this one. And I think that having to face off against the Bologna and Robin could present a little bit of an issue for this Soul. I would potentially really like to see a Nemesis from Oshapir. It's certainly within his god pool, and I think that it could be a very strong acquisition, since it's evident that Dig are looking for this beefy frontline yet again.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes, like we said, you have double warrior. Nemesis is always the option to go to, plus just a little bit extra peel. I think that Black Dragons would be very, they would be gifted if we see that jungler show up in the hands of their player. But Black Dragons here with the Soul, I think this picks and ban phase is so much less about what Dignitas picks. Listen, they're going to be strong with whatever the hell they get, right? We understand that as Team Dignitas, whatever. It's much more important in my eyes what Black Dragons winds up arming themselves with. And this is what the decision was. We had an extended conversation here about the selection. I guarantee you, it was, do we want the Nemesis, which will sort of counter the double warrior, or just Susano because I'm good at it?
And you can never really go wrong, especially in a LAN environment, when you're looking for those comfort picks. And having Susano as a comfort pick, I mean, he's also just a top-tier pick in general. Combining that alongside of the Soul, tons of damage potential from the get-go. And I think that that's really what Black Dragons need to stick to. They can't really play into the hands of Dignitas in 2 games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I like Black Dragon's selection of Susano. Like you said, he's just really strong. He's one of these characters that could absolutely run a game by himself. And importantly, very importantly, you know, we always talk about the solo lane matchup if you can interrupt Bologna's bludgeon. Mid-team fight, that bludgeon's hitting like 7 people. It's going to slam down for a zillion. Susano can absolutely interrupt that as well. So very important, kind of overlooked aspect, I think, about the Susano versus Bologna in those mid-game team fights. Heading out to our second round of bans, however, we see Geb taken away by Team Dignitas, leaving Black Dragons with one less option in that support role. Option over to BD to see where they go.
Interesting early selection of the Hu Yi as well, just because of the fact that when you're locking that in your top 3 and you already have the rest of your squishy members, Dignitas, it makes it a little bit easier for them to take away that peeling aspect that Black Dragons want to look for, and that's the main reason why we see the Geb going away. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Khepri as a secondary ban, but of course, Black Dragons eliminating Arkill's choices, and it is going to be the Khepri.
I like the Rom ban out. Listen, if you give Arkill his choice every game, I think he just picks Rom every day. This is what he wants to play, and like I said, I mean, when you're playing against Team Dignitas, it's much less about what they're playing, but at the same time, don't give him that favorite.
And speaking of favorites, I mean, he doesn't want to deal with the current either. I don't think any hunter ever has to worry about it. Even with Hu Yi having the favorable matchup, it's still just something that when you know that somebody's as good as Arkill, why take the chance?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, a little bit too strong. And we see Jingweezy picked up by Team Dignitas. You know, we saw her played earlier in the console set, but the Fafnir and the Nike selection. Now, the Nike and the Jingwei are characters that we see, I'd say, medium amounts of time, right? They're not numero uno, but they're far from the bottom. Why Jingwei and Nike? I'll answer the double punch.
Well, Jingwei, because you can never really go wrong with the Jingwei pick. She's just so safe in that laning phase, and when you're playing off against somebody like Marcel's, when he picks the Hu Yi, you know that he just wants to, again, bait out the aggressive stance, but he won't get the opportunity to do it because Jingwei, she's got her ultimate, she's got her dash, that additional movement speed. It all just adds on.
Thoth, the late game mage for Team Dignitas, will be the final selection, and who we'll see Zero's pilot right there. The knuckle bump coming out from your solo and jungler on the side of Team Dignitas. Black Dragons trying to defend their set here, bringing it to a game number 3 against Team Dignitas. Of course, best of 3 here in our quarterfinals. Very curious to see if Black Dragons have what it takes to stretch this one out.
Also, I do think, going back to what you were saying, I think the Nike, it's because she has a little bit of global presence with that passive, and on top of that, her ultimate's fairly strong, and when you want to survive as long as possible and kind of get up in the face of somebody, Nike's going to be the one to do it. That's
the key there, I think. And Black Dragon's kind of showing that they're going to play a little bit more passive, right? The small window of opportunities that they do have, Fafnir, Hu Yi, and Sol, burn down whatever quick. We got to go quick. Hurry, leave. Hurry, quick, get it. Nike is, like you said, offensively, she does a little bit. It's more about, oh no, they're on me. Let me see how long I can last. Stretch this one out. Exactly what Black Dragons wants to happen to this set as a whole. Game 2, Black Dragons, Team Dignitas.
And you can definitely tell that Black Dragons are looking for more of that team presence factor just by the support choice pickup alone for that active, going for the sprint instead of a bracer like we saw Trickstank on in the previous game.
I like the sprint a lot here. I think it's going to allow the team to get in and get out, like I said, very quickly. This is what Black Dragons wants to do. They kind of understand that if you go head-to-head with the Mack truck, you might not wind up on the positive side. So you're looking more for sort of like guerrilla warfare right here. Black Dragons gets a pick, hurl, quick, hit the gold fury. We got Fafnir and 2 basic attackers. That's really what I think Black Dragons are looking for.
Another interesting choice, too, is just in the itemization alone between these 2 hunters. You can see that Marcel's didn't opt for that Boomba's mask that has become so prevalent on ADCs.
Uh-oh, Zero's already in trouble. Big damage out of the soul. Zero's could be first blood, but he gets out on the right-hand side. Oship barely letting the Thoth guy walk away. Nice early aggression. That's what we wanted.
That's the definition of a swag walk right there.
Oh, yeah.
From Zero's, just casually hoping that he gets alive and away from that situation.
And this is what we asked for out of Black Dragons. I think the lack of early aggression kind of hurt them earlier on in game number 1. Team Dignitas kind of took it around with it. Here, Black Dragons, mid lane, almost finds first blood. Left side, looks to the invade. They actually don't wind up positive on it. PBA taking poke, but I like the aggression and at least the idea that they're looking to stay on top.
Active is already expended as well from PBA, having to get that sprint to make sure that he gets away to safety. And the same thing can be said, though, in that mid lane. I mean, Zero's had to use his Aegis just to ensure, he had to use his Aegis just to ensure that he could survive. And then on top of that, the bracer came out from Cubo.
Here's a nice little rotation. Dignitas sort of poking their faces in the jungle. Not going to be much of anything, so PBA not too deterred. There's Team Dignitas going into the jungle now, aggressively looking for the enemy's red buff. Looks like Black Dragons will just sort of give that one up, but Zero's still getting poked out.
A little bob to the face, though, onto Oship, just really trying to deter any sort of follow-up aggression. I mean, Oship's just making a presence for himself, though, this time.
At the same time, it's not, just for show. That poke out allows the right side mid-Harpies, the neutral objective, to go the way of Black Dragons. So nice little presence coming out from Oship.
That's really what you're looking for every single time. That's all that you want to see from Black Dragons. Just stick to playing your own game. And speaking of playing your own game, a little bit of aggression from Dignitas, Arkil and Terra. I mean, those aren't 2 guys you typically expect to be invading against a Fafnir and a Hu Yi.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Black Dragons sort of give up the red buff, and then by extension, the purple goes their way as well. So unfortunately for Black Dragon, unable to really defend their inside jungle. Team Dignitas off to a little bit of a lead, 500 or so, even without the first blood, just by way of aggressive jungle advance.
They're going to have to be careful here because with Dignitas having such a massive lead in that dual lane side, it makes it all too easy for Trixtank to have that free roaming potential, just because PB is probably going to want to try and hang around that dual lane, soak up a little bit more XP. He can't really contest right now.
There's a little bit of dash coming out from Dig support, but not going to catch O-Ship just yet. Nah, going to pick up some farm in the backside as well, so we'll see how this goes as the players continue to take their characters and mature via XP and gold.
And Archeol, I love what he's doing here, pulling this Archer wave as close to him as possible, really ensuring that the next wave is going to have to keep pushing further up to see if he can catch Marcel's off guard. And
Marcel's right now, I think he gets it. He's playing very safe here, nice and close to the tower. O-Ship, however, looking for the pull, actually gets it, dashes forward as well. Flip tick is down, Humo Fred gets stunned. There's the ultimate, Bracer's good, and the knockup is stronger from O-Ship. Humo Fred able to survive. Thank you, Bracer. No first blood.
Just not enough damage quite yet for the squad of Black Dragons, but that alone is going to let Dignitas know that they need to actually be careful this time.
Yeah, I mean, we like to, so sometimes people like to take the, make the big step and say, oh, they're not respecting this team. Now I think in game number 1, Dignitas played kind of fast and loose, and frankly, because they could. Super late game Scylla, not that afraid. Black Dragons, I think, have a much better composition this time around to deal with the early game shenanigans, and because of that, Team Dignitas, game number 1, would have full committed to that invade on the speed buff. Game number 2, Soul, a little bit more powerful at 420 on the clock, so speed buff goes to O-Ship.
Having that aggressive ward, though, from Dignitas just means that they are still going to be looking for that invade if possible. I wouldn't be surprised to see Variety start making that rotation, funneling in a little bit later on, probably on the next buff cycle, if Dignitas are able to find even the pick, which is probably better than the buff to them at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're definitely, yes, without a doubt. I mean, 500 gold for first blood, still on the board. The bounty has not yet been claimed, so you certainly want that pick, but it's going to be the dash and the pull on the zeros. Dash already down. Stun is good. Here comes the help from Trixtank. Root will be strong. Isn't strong enough. Zeros getting turned around on. And the sprint will save the life of the mid laner one more time. Rotation from the right-hand side of Team Dignitas. That's 1 man into 4.
And already Variety making the rotation as well. The Nike ultimate coming up huge. That slow is exactly what Black Dragons needed to get out of that scenario.
That was Black Dragons 6 ways to Sunday. Team Dignitas mind up wiggling out of it through a smart use of actives. Foth guy, zeros. He's been in trouble 2 or 3 times now, escaping with just barely enough HP to talk about.
Just look at how deep Dignitas are venturing into Black Dragon's jungle, though, knowing how much Black Dragons use, trying to pick up that kill onto zeros. I mean, even the aggressive ward down under is just so much for Black Dragons to try and keep in mind.
And look at that, just look at what the result is. I mean, we can talk about how nice it is to see the aggression, but take a look towards the top of your screen, folks. Black Dragons, Team Dignitas, as far as the gold is concerned, I mean, you're looking at a 1,500 gold lead when no objective has been taken, no first blood whatsoever. This is just raw invade and better farming.
And this is all coming from that initial failed invade from Black Dragons onto Team Dignitas when the Fafnir and Huyi were unsuccessful in stripping away that red buff from Dignitas. It ultimately just put them completely behind in that duo lane. That's basically where the entire lead in this game is right now. But if there's somebody I don't want to see with the lead, it is definitely aging Wei.
Yeah, and at the same time, this first blood is so important for Black Dragons to get, which is why I want to see them continue to be aggressive. Look at O-Ship, set up an ambush here, pulls the mid laner. This time Zeros is alone. Ultimate knocks him up, but a beautiful stun out of Zeros, not going to be enough. O-Ship winds up with the first blood. Down goes the Thoth guy. Team Dignitas looking for the rotation, however. P-Bay shows up, finds the stun, good enough. And Black Dragons gets themselves on the board first, earning them 500 gold.
It was only a matter of time. So many different attempts were made by Black Dragons just trying to lock down that kill onto Zeros. And I mean, if you keep going for it enough times, 3rd time's the charm.
Right, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely gonna wind up positive at some point. PBA being chased down by Trixtank. I've seen this one before. We call it a slap fight. Here's a second slapper, Humo Fred shows up, and as soon as the threat shows up, the support goes away.
PB, though, I mean, he's still able to be such a presence for his team despite having that 2-level disparity between himself and Trickstank, and that's always an important factor. He is following up on his teammates' calls. You can tell the decision there is take out Zeros, and immediately that is exactly what he looked for.
Well, I mean, I mentioned it before. Oship with the ability to pull, such an important, powerful tool against the Thoth, especially early game. Thoth's not gonna do anything. All he has is the dash of the stun, looking for the self-peel. Once, twice, 3 times the charm. That's what allows Black Dragon to pick up the first blood. Still trailing, however. 500 gold bounty, not enough. Team Dignitas still up, basically the 1,500.
And I think that's the primary concern here for Black Dragons, is that you can just tell how much more efficient this European team is when it comes to farming. All around, Dignitas have really just been establishing themselves on the board. And if they can just keep trickling away and kind of just poking away, that slow bleed onto Black Dragons is eventually going to catch up to them.
Absolutely. Gotta sort of lick their wounds and move on. Right now, Marcel's, however, gotta defend his own tower right quick. There might be 1 kill on the board for Black Dragons, but they're certainly not in the lead here. I think this is, the momentum is in the way of Team Dignitas, but it's not as drastic as it was at game number 1.
And I mean, Zeros is certainly trying to keep an eye off. And that's why it's for Oship, half healthed already. And he's actually a level ahead of Oship.
And that was a defensive play. Now, this is where you see, you know, the best crowd control is death, right? That's an offensive play. Think about Ares. He doesn't have much peel, but if you deal enough damage, the person's going to turn around. You see the aggression coming out big in the mid lane. Oship goes on the Thoth to make sure that they can't collapse on people.
And just trying to make sure that he evades that stun coming out from Trickstank, who's just looking for that initial lane clear. I mean, we know that Zero's obviously for this Aegis, but I'm not sure that it's going to be providing the kind of kill that he needs. He really just has to play entirely around his front line.
Well, I think we're going to see both the beats and the Aegis. Eventually, there's the jump forward, the knock-up, not even needed. Knocked down is Marcel's. Arco answers back. It's 1-1.
And that's the issue of falling so far behind so early on. And
jump
speaking
forward.
of falling behind, I mean, Variety's ready to go in, and so is Pibe as he cleans up Trickstank in the mid lane.
Left and right might belong to Dignitas, but the middle lane has Black Dragons all over it. Double kill for the support. Pibe with the double-oon, and that's going to be a nice answer back for Black Dragons. Still trailing, but staying alive in the middle lane.
Costing them their T1 tower, though, in that dual lane side is only going to mean that Marcel's has to deal with even more pressure from Dignitas. And this also opens up the ejective play. I mean, there's Black Dragon's wards all around it, though.
Yeah, this is, let's say, aggressive to be nice. I don't know about that one, Dig. They have to back off. 3 players a little bit stronger than 2, especially when you take into account who those 3 are. Non with the ultimate, Oship with the pull, and this is the play I want to see. A little bit, you give him an inch, take the mile. Black Dragons go for it. Gold Fury going to be the aggressive target, and there it goes. Gold Fury goes the way of Black Dragons. Tie game.
Fafnir and 2 ADCs.
Yep.
That is all that you need. I mean, Sol, she's that mage, sure, but she still plays like a hunter for the most part in the magical side of things, and her shred potential is absolutely insane. When you've got that buff from Fafnir as well, it's just all too easy.
This is exactly what we was talking about in that pick ban phase. Take the small windows of opportunity that you earn, because Fafnir, Marcel's, and Non are going to be able to chew through whatever objective you put in front of them. Yeah, get 1 or 2 kills in the mid lane. Every objective belongs to us. Just like that, Black Dragons put themselves in striking distance. 800 gold, like I said, I'm calling that a tie game.
I'm loving the focus that Black Dragons is also applying to this middle lane. They know that their side lanes are lost. They just want those side lanes to try and farm as much as possible. And if you're pressuring another part of the map, Diggs either got to respond or keep losing it. And I don't know about you, I know that Nike is going to be relevant. I know that Akuyi can press 4, so I want to make sure that my Thoth tries to stay alive, and that's really the main thing that Black Dragons is not permitting right now. They are completely focusing the hell out of Zeros.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to bring up, is that Black Dragons had 1 focus. Nice dodge out of the root coming out from QO Fred, but Black Dragons had 1 goal. And make no bones about it, they lost the side lanes, but now they didn't plan on that. But all they said coming to this game was kill Zeros. We banned the Morgan, we banned Kronos, kill him, then kill him again, and kill him after that, and kill him again. And then kind of look for a gold tier because we killed zeros. And everything's sort of going according to plan. Now, not perfect. I think those towers should have stayed alive a little bit longer, but I like what Black Dragons are doing here.
A little bit of a crit action coming through due to that Jing Wei second ability by Arceal. A lot of grouping. I would imagine that Dignitas is going to make a Portal Demon attempt. If anything, they want to take up the fight. They want to force that little bit of a lead that they have on Black Dragons as much as possible.
Look at this play from Variety, jumping forward, using the ultimate on the objective, more so to create that field of 50 protections. Now Black Dragons are going to fight into it and intelligently come off of the area that Dignitas put down the Bologna circle. Looking for the fight on the top is Team Dignitas. Well, Cubo Friend separates himself from the rest of the team. That's a beautiful use of Bracer, saving the jungler's life.
And it's going to be Oship actually in a little bit of danger as he gets locked down by Trickstake inside of the Terra Root. Variety, all too easy of a cleanup, and now it's going to be Dignitas yet again trying to pick up this Portal Demon. I don't think anybody from Black Dragons wants to even bother trying to contest. They've expended so much. Good attempt by Nan. I mean, it's one of those situations where if you're safe enough to look for it, you can, but unfortunately just not enough damage to steal it away.
I mean, that's exactly the play I want to see, Taco. Mid lane with a long range ability, toss it and run. Just maybe it'll work, I don't know. Unfortunately, we actually do know it didn't work. Team Dignitas wind up with the objective and pushing their lead forward still. Just about 2,000 gold, and this is the important part. Look at that graph right there. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Black Dragons, make no bones, they're not in the lead, but as long as they're able to make that return play every so often, keep this in the 2,000, 2,500 area, you're gonna be fine.
The gold might be going up and down, but one thing about that XP difference is it's going completely downhill and very, very fast. Dignitas, again, already forcing themselves into the side of Black Dragons, really just trying to ensure that this team can't even lock away their own buffs now. They've got the map pressure on that solo lane side. They're going to press into it every single time they can.
Yeah, this is gonna be the big point here, where everybody sort of has to watch out. Team Dignitas is the make or break point for Black Dragons as we're sort of in this 15-minute, well, exactly 15 minutes on the clock. Dignitas can put the pedal to the metal, and Black Dragons have to sort of defend. If they wind up not able to do so, then they're gonna be in a lot of trouble here, and it might be toast, and Zeros gets his revenge. Nan goes down for the count. It's gonna be P-Bay exiting stage right, and Team Dignitas going to kind of hang out here in this middle lane.
Not even long enough to take a breather. If you blinked, Nan was gone. And that's kind of just the scariness of Dignitas' draft. This Thoth, I mean, what does Thoth love to do? He loves to have that burst potential. And sure, it's not a Morrigan, so to say, but any slight amount of CC that Dignitas is able to get, it's only going to be added on with more CC, and that is the danger.
Under the tower, Marcel drops the ultimate. Could it be enough for Variety? Uses the bracers, slowed to hell, but winds up getting out of there just with a sliver of HP. Here comes the pull. The ultimate is good. Oh, ship out of nowhere. Takes down the solo.
But now he's trying to get away himself, but the Terra Root is good yet again. These circles are destroying Black Dragons, and already Arceal is just on a tear.
P-Bay goes in, he sees the opportunity. All by himself goes Kliz. Not gonna be enough. Nike ultimate used and gone. No root for Trix Tank. It's a solo later for Black Dragons. Exits into the jungle. 4-4 here, folks, but Team Dignitas absolutely has the lead. 3,000 gold plus for the Europeans.
We've seen this one before, though, still with a little bit more than an 8K experience lead. And now Dignitas, again, just trying to fight onto these objectives. They're shredding away Full Fury just as quickly as Black Dragons. And I don't want to say that this is the beginning of the end, but Black Dragons really need to be a lot more cautious about the fights that they're choosing to fight into.
Yeah, 2 minutes ago is really what happened, is really what I'm looking at, Taco. We saw that 15-minute fight there in the middle lane underneath the tower. Marcel, if he winds up getting Variety killed earlier, Oship can come and tackle underneath the tower. Maybe he goes in the other direction, but not the case.
I think what Black Dragons is missing is that second item Brawlers for the Bracer.
Sure.
If just draw it back to that initial Portal Demon fight. If Cubo dies there, there is a complete rundown potential from Black Dragons because they're missing that frontlining peel, but Cubo healing himself up to like 60% health. I mean, he's all but ready to brawl, and So I think that if Oship had opted for the Brawlers as opposed to the Hydras, he would have been in a much better position as far as deterring Dignitas from continuing these team fights.
Another thing that I'm kind of liking out of Dignitas that is Black Dragons is lacking in is the quickness that these decisions are coming out with. Dignitas are making the decision before the fight is over. When they see the result, then they go ahead and go attack the Gold Fury. Black Dragons retreated, assessed, and then went to the goal instead of just immediately hitting the objective. If they're there 3 seconds earlier, there's a little bit of contest. Because Nike and Non didn't actually make it to gold, Dig picks it up for free, no big deal. 5K in the lead, Oship goes down, no big deal.
No big deal at all. I mean, Trixtank is pretty much standing right in front of the T2 tower, zoning out 3 members of Black Dragons. Not that anybody could have possibly saved Oship, but just the fact that a Terra is able to be that barricade goes to show how much of a dominant lead Dignitas really have.
Trixtank separates himself from the team offensively to allow the tier 2 tower on the right-hand side to go down. 1,500 in the pocket for Team Dignitas. Looking to do the same in the mid lane, a little bit more aggressively this time. Non going to use the Aegis and the little slip to get out of there underneath the Phoenix. But the tower, well, it doesn't really have an Aegis, so it's going to be in trouble here. Nice jump forward by Kliz, but there's nobody there to deal the damage.
I mean, there's plenty of people to deal damage for Dignitas. Marcel's immediately having to back off. For a secondary, he was debating whether or not he wanted to try and pursue that, but Black Dragons just know they cannot take these fights anymore.
And so because they can't take the fight, Taco, I mean, you gotta get creative. PB in trouble here. Variety's by himself. This is where you get creative. The solo laner's by himself. Take him down, but he's a level 18 below. How do you do that? Oship drops the ultimate. Non drops Kilvo. That could be a good play.
Kivo didn't even get a chance to use his bracer, do that knockup from the Soul Ultimate, and then the rest of the damage just depleting his health entirely. But Dignitas, they're still not all that concerned. Yeah. They are still looking for this Portal Demon. They know that Black Dragons has expended everything. They used everything, though. They can't. They have no contest. All their ultimates have been dropped, and that is their problem.
Yeah, Kliz by himself is looking for the wrap out of the backside. I mean, theoretically, right? Go with me here. Kliz powers up the jump, gets the knockup. Non throws the long range soul nonsense, right? You got the opportunity for a pick there, maybe a steal. Black Dragons don't have the confidence for it. They're down 6K, not 16K. They don't have ultimates. Dignitas, I would have liked to see the attempt at that point, because I think if you're just gonna sit on your hands the whole time, the game's already over.
I think the problem for Black Dragons is that they're kind of just recognizing that the game is not going in their direction at all, despite what was a seemingly strong start. And so now their mentality has kind of shifted more towards delaying the inevitable.
Sure.
But they're not really able to do so. And they kind of seem a little bit demoralized as far as not really wanting to engage up into those, what appears to be abysmal situations.
I love how you players, they just sort of wrap around the side and toss out the crow and everybody, where is he? I'm looking for the ricochet. Oh no. And then he just sort of walks away and goes, gotcha. So Black Dragons kind of trying to play defense here in the mid lane, but not really too concerned about it. Dignitas walks into the speed buff. Nobody just playing D for Black Dragons. I mean, sure, at one there is a value in understanding that you're down and you can't take the fight. I fully agree with you, Taco. But at what point is that too much? I mean, you do have to play some sort of stoppage.
They really just need to rely on these secondary defense mechanisms like the T2 tower, which pretty much serves as a 6-man.
Watch out.
That's their only opportunity.
Oship already has this pull on cooldown. Hugo gonna take underneath the tower. Nice teleport from Oship to avoid the little bit of a root there. Jump forward, Kliz gets aggressive, and there's Trixtank just getting the double root, making sure that Black Dragons can't get too aggressive.
This Terra is absolutely destroying Black Dragons. Every time they look to go in, Trix says no. And now it's actually going to be Dignitas trying to go in, but there's nobody saying no on the side of Black Dragons.
Yeah, Non showing up, looking for a little bit of help. There's again the help from Trixtank, and it's Oracle taking down Kliz, the tier 2 tower, not alive any longer. 1,500 more gold for Team Dig.
But that was a beautiful Hu Yi ultimate by Marcel's, able to clean up Trixtank. Now it's Non looking to lock down Kivo, but he still had his ultimate available.
This is a really good opportunity for Black Dragons because had they gotten more kills, they wanted with the gold tree. But again, they play it too safe. They don't chase. Dignitas aren't going to go for the gold either. I mean, this might be the choice for Black Dragons to hit this on. Do it!
They need to.
Do it!
They've got to commit. That's the problem. And this is where you can really tell the difference between a team like Black Dragons and Dignitas. Dignitas has that veteran experience, and that is really what Black Dragons is lacking at the international level. They aren't quite accustomed to being that team that actually plays from behind.
And this is the issue. You're at 8,000 gold. This is starting to get a little scary. If you pick up the Gold Fury down to a 4,500 gold lead, all of a sudden it's a brand new game. That was the opportunity. This is what I'm talking about. It's one thing to play it safe. It's another thing to sit on your hands. Black Dragons needed to go for that Gold Fury, and unfortunately they don't. Team Dignitas still 8K up.
You see it so often from these other European teams, whether it's Dignitas or NRG, Obey. Anytime they fall even the slightest bit behind, they will still look to take up that aggressive stance and play off of the objectives. And I think that's really what Black Dragons seems to be lacking. They're just too scared to go in because they keep thinking about that, what if we lose it? But it doesn't even matter whether or not they lose it. You're already so far behind, you're only going to benefit just committing to it.
Exactly, and I mean, there is also a certain point where, I mean, even if you go for it, worst case scenario, you get wiped and they get it. They're getting it if you don't go for it in the first place, anyway, right? So, I mean, you got to take the gamble. I mean, it's risk versus reward, and, man, you got to just go for the bite sometimes, and that's my biggest issue with Black Dragons here at game number 2. Oh, wow, Ship brings Arkle towards him. And it seems he made the wrong choice. Arkle takes him out in a couple of swings of the bow. Down goes Ship, who's had a fantastic game so far. Not right there. And with one little pick, Dignitas is able to get the big pick of the Gold Fury. 5 digits one more time, 10K in the lead for Team Dig.
Hard for a Susano to run away even from a Jing Wei. I mean, that Wind Demon just adding on to the crit and attack speed potential for Arkle, and now it's going to be the T2 tower falling.
See ya.
We've seen this one before. It's a little bit of deja vu at this point.
Yeah, deja vu all over again. Shouts to my New York brother and Yogi Berra. 6-7 at the moment, 25 on the clock. Team Dignitas up by about 10,000, actually 12,000. That'll extend even further as they take down the Portal Demon, looking for more by way of kills. Kliz, PB jumps in by himself. The team nowhere near him. Absolutely, perhaps the wrong choice. There's the damage going by way of the red team onto the blue team. Down goes PB, Cuvo Fred with the credit. Marcells goes down to the head of Cuvo one more time. Ship able to answer back, but still a double Q for Cuvo Fred. Variety gets involved as well. 3 players make that 4 down as Zeros puts number 11 on the board for Team Dignitas. And that's gonna be one hell of a play for the black and gold, pushing forward as soon as they back to base.
Kliz, the lone survivor of that mess of a fight. There was just absolutely nowhere. It looked promising for a moment, but then you remember the experience deficit between these two teams, and you could just tell that lack of damage. It was a beautiful setup by Ship. He had a perfect Susano ultimate into that backside of Team Dignitas, but it didn't even make a difference. As soon as Non expended his damage, it still wasn't enough to clean up anybody other than Arkle.
Oh, it's a comeback Carl. Kliz was once there, and now he's just another tick in the kill column for Cuvo Fred. 4, 1, and 6 for the jungler on the side of Team Dignitas. A very big deal, a very big part of why Dig are going to take not just game number 1, but perhaps game number 2. Where was PB?
Attempting to steal the Fire Giant, which I can always appreciate when you're this far behind, but
you gotta give it a shot.
I also do have to give credits to Black Dragons. It was very evident from the picks and bans phase that they did make certain adaptations to try and fight back into this European squad, but Dignitas have kind of just been dominant and rampant all split long, and I mean, they're not looking to slow down by any means against this Brazilian team. They are looking to just go all in with things and shut it out fast.
Mid lane, Phoenix is the target. Well, it once was, already down. Now Team Dignitas shifting over to the right-hand side, leaving 2 in the mid to just sort of play around with Black Dragons. Right side, Phoenix in trouble. Ultimate already used by Non. That Supernova is not going to be much of an impact. Right side, Phoenix down for the count as well. One Phoenix remains, but Dignitas not concerned. Zeros, Cubo, Fred, both wind up with a kill. Not done yet. Looking towards the team. Arkle also. Everybody eaten, and the Titan is next. Down it goes. Double kill for the Hunter, and Black Dragons Titan falls. Team Dignitas moving on to the semi.